Well, welcome everyone, for those online and for those on land here at Ananda Encinitas at the Temple of Joy. This satsang, entitled AI, Spirituality and the Conscious Journey Ahead, is a very special topic. It was one by popular demand. I did a brief talk on this subject a couple weeks ago, and it was so well received that they had asked for more. So I started to put this together. I ran this by our leadership at Ananda Village to share, to see if it would be appropriate to share among the different meditation group leaders, and they agreed that it was, and I do believe that it's very useful. The content we'll share here today is in the chat. You can see the link. It's available for you to freely download, and you can share that freely as well. I don't claim ownership to anything that I write, and I'll get into some details around that here shortly. I will be sharing my desktop as we go forward. I'm going to assume that most of you understand how to use the tools here in Zoom. If you have any questions during this satsang, I ask that maybe you post them in the chat or hold on to them. We will have time at the end, a fair amount of time, for live Q&A. And I trust that this will stimulate quite a number of questions in that regard. So if we're all ready to go, I am going to share my screen. And if you give me one moment. And let me get it full screen. Okay. Roberto, give me a thumbs up. Is that showing adequately for you on your screen? Okay, very good. This is a satsang of exploration of technology, consciousness, and the human heart. It is presented by Ananda Encinitas. I developed these slides with the assistance, of course, of Guruji, as everything in my life comes from Guru, from meditation. Also with the assistance of various of my AI agents. My Durga is my Gemini AI agent I've been using for several years now. Copilot. I did not use Claude or Perplexities on this at all, but again, we'll talk a little bit about the various AI tools. This is not going to be a deep dive into the various tools. I started down that path, and it became obvious to me that we could not fit in the 1 to 1.5 hour satsang all that I wanted to share, so I split it into 2 topics. And if you're interested, at the end you'll see what the second session would look like, and it will go on even deeper, but I'm not going to cover that here tonight. I wanted to basically give a framework for AI as a technology, and I wanted to start with a disclaimer. I think it's important for you to all understand that, and again, I wrote this was not AI written, but I believe all outer knowledge is inherently incomplete. You know, Newton gave us the Newtonian physics, classical physics, the physics of mechanics. We use it today to launch satellites, to lob grenades at our enemy, to put GPS up into space, and to give us quite a bit of functionality. However, it is woefully inadequate to describe short-range nuclear interactions, gravity, and a variety of other topics. It is incomplete, as is calculus, as is everything that we know. Einstein's general theory was proven to be incomplete relative to its expression of gravity, and he himself did not quite want to include concepts such as quantum mechanics, which of course we have more recently begun to embrace. But our depth of understanding is always tied to our levels of consciousness. We are in the Dwapara Yuga, according to my lineage, my line of gurus. We're roughly 300 plus years into Dwapara Yuga. This is the age of conscious awareness around energy and magnetism. We came out of Kali Yuga, which was a primitive age, a very lower chakra energy of competition, of survival, me against you, very primitive. So we are rising our consciousness, and of course it's of no surprise that we are all very comfortable talking about energy and magnetism and consciousness in a general sense, and that our Guru brought the original teachings of yoga as taught by Bhagavan Krishna to this country really in the beginning of Dwapara Yuga, because we were ready to receive such teachings. Our words, our concepts, all of our creative works are simply limited expressions that reach outward for a deeper meaning and inward for true wisdom. Now, I think that's an important distinction to understand, that everything that we tend to think of as knowledge is itself incomplete. And it's really a yearning of the soul to go deeply inward, to tune to spirit, the higher consciousness, or what we might call truth, Vedanta. Bless you. Yet it is within these very limitations that life finds its purpose and its beauty. This is the paradox of life, isn't it? Life is suffering, but it's out of the suffering that we achieve the greatness of spirit. Our incompleteness is the divine spark that drives our journey forward. And so I'd like to begin with a chant together, and you're welcome. If you're remote, you can keep yourself on mute, and we can chant the simple chant, "Who is in my temple?" It applies quite beautifully to our topic here tonight, and I'll explain that in a little bit more detail. All the doors to open. Sit up tall, raise the gaze behind closed lids at the seat of higher awareness and spiritual eye. And for a moment, tune yourself to the reminder that as all the doors open and all the lights kindle within the bodily temple, our role is to observe the world without being pulled out of our inner center. Interiorize your awareness, practicing pratyahara, distinguishing outer technological forms from the divine resident within you. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. If the last decade of artificial intelligence was about teaching machines to think, the next one will be about teaching them to act and to learn from those actions. If you're like many, the rapid rise of artificial intelligence can feel like it possesses the greatest risk to humanity we faced in our lifetime, leaving one wondering how to protect our peace, our purpose, and our soul in a world moving far too fast. At a recent F50 Physical AI Summit at Snowflake Silicon Valley AI Hub, it was clear that the next great leap in technology won't happen on our screens. It will happen in the world around us. AI is stepping off the page and into reality, into robots, vehicles, and systems that perceive, reason, and move with intent. I chose this rather humorous of the many humorous cartoons because it does reflect something important to understand. Our brain acts very much like a linear machine. It chooses beginnings and ends, and it fills in the blanks quite readily. It can create stories. The blanks get filled in from our repository of memories within our mind, within our astral body. But nonetheless, it is a linear expression. This is very much akin to what AI is. It is a linear tool of algorithms. It, in fact, can process faster than your brain on order of magnitude, 10 trillion instructions per second, far superior to how quickly your brain can process information. It's of no surprise that AI is taking over in such a rapid pace. Few realize that AI has been around for 3 decades. But if we look back at the very beginning of time, from fire to fiber optics, we have, as humanity, always used tools. The question has always been, in service of what? With the Gutenberg press, we were able to reach masses for the first time. Writing invented allowed the Vedas to go from oral traditions into written form. Electricity and radio extended the propagation of that information, that knowledge, worldwide. It enabled Yogananda, our guru, to speak to thousands and bring yoga to the West. The internet, connecting countless servers around the world, bringing the world to a singular point in time. We experience world wars literally in real time. We watch things as they unfold in real time. This global community has also offered us great distractions and divisions. Generative AI, which we are beginning to enter into, we are right at the cusp of that, will be the most powerful cognitive tool ever created. And so it is that we all are faced with choices. Will we use this power wisely? The scale of AI at the moment suggests that we are at a huge inflection point. This year alone, there are over 1 billion weekly users of ChatGPT. It is the fastest technology adoption in human history. It is an order of magnitude faster than any other adoption we have seen in history, and its capability is doubling every 12 months. In fact, its capability is going faster than doubling inherent because it's being used to increase its own speed. AI is being used to become a better AI. Anthropic has developed Claude almost entirely through the use of Claude. $1.8 trillion was invested in AI last year, and it is reshaping every industry known to man. Now, this tends to bring about a sense of fear for many people. I would suggest that it's bringing about a great opportunity. Guruji Paramahansa Yogananda had said much about AI. His teachings spoke directly to this moment, but written decades before the digital age. He had said, "The Western day is indeed nearing when the inner science of self-control will be found as necessary as the outer conquest of nature." AI is the ultimate outer conquest. Yogananda's call to us was to go inward ever more deeply. A little experience of God is worth more than a library of metaphysical books, he said. Well, of course, AI can fill our minds with information. It can read the entire Library of Congress in a matter of minutes. But only meditation can bring about true wisdom. God has given us one tremendous instrument, more powerful than any technology, the mind. And it's the mind that must be strengthened. The tools serve the mind. The mind must serve the soul. He further went on to say, matter is condensed consciousness. Every atom pulses with divine intelligence. AI processes data, massively quickly. The soul perceives the divine. These are very different orders of knowing. Finally, Guruji would say, you are all gods if only you knew it. Behind the wave of your consciousness is the sea of God's presence. AI can mimic and reflect human ingenuity, but we are the reflection of the infinite. We must not lose that distinction. These are the major platforms making up the landscape of AI, the tools available to the conscious seeker today. Each of them have very specific applications, very specific use cases that they were optimized for. ChatGPT from OpenAI is best for creative work, for research and everyday tasks. I used ChatGPT for some of the research that I did for this presentation itself. I have to verify and validate that research. I have to query properly what I'm asking of ChatGPT, but we'll get into some of that later. Claude, very powerful for code, for writing software, for writing deep white papers. Gemini integrates very well with the workflows of Microsoft Office. Wonderful for deep workspace integration. Copilot, again, now powered with GPT-5. We're seeing an integration of one platform into the other. Perplexity, great on fact-checking and real-time web search. I use Perplexity as one of my news feeds. I've created a Perplexity agent that feeds me news that I can count on and trust, unlike most of the other news feeds that you might find out there. Meta is the latest from the Facebook parent. Llama has been released just recently into the open source world. It remains to see how well it's received by the developers, but it's already natively embedded in WhatsApp and Instagram, so it's already reaching billions of people globally, and they don't recognize that. This is just a chart to give you a sense of how the major platforms compare. As I mentioned before, each of them is optimized for very specific tasks, the kinds of queries that they run, the algorithms that form the basis of their work that they can do. So to use any one tool for all tasks would be inappropriate. To understand each tool and apply them to their strength is really a more enlightened approach. And by the way, I don't pay a single penny for the use of any AI. You'll find that AI is going to become monetized through the use of tokens. Tokens was the original intention of blockchain, which gave us, of course, cryptocurrency. And the idea was that you could manage a transaction of value, an exchange of information, of goods, of services, in a transparent, auditable, private, and secure manner. This is what blockchain offered the world, unlike traditional financial accounting systems. It operates under tokens. If you are using ChatGPT today, you're probably getting on order of about 400 tokens per month. And if you query ChatGPT and you create a flyer or you try to do something with it, you might find fairly quickly you're going to run out of tokens. And they'll say you'll refresh the following month because it offers that number of tokens each month. All of these platforms are looking for ways to monetize their technology because there's huge cost. The cost of data centers to power the massive servers required to deliver AI. The cost of compute, billions of dollars of capital expense. So we're going to see some massive changes coming down fairly soon that will suggest that they have to recover those costs, not just from our eyeballs, which is traditional advertising, traditional search engines, and traditional social media. As I mentioned, I'm not going to go very deeply into each of these platform tools tonight. We will have a second session where we will dive deeply into each one of them and how to best utilize them. But I do want to show the great distinction of where the machine ends and the soul begins, because these are two realities. And we have a conscious choice. And I think it's a very exciting one. When you consider what AI can do, process vast information at superhuman speeds. Well, we used our brain for that, didn't we? We were processing information at the speeds that our brain was capable of. Just like when I started in college in 1970, my physics classes and my math classes, we used a slide rule. And the slide rule I had was a linear slide rule. And then we went to a 8-inch circular slide rule. Well, this is an analog device that could do logarithmic functions, that could evaluate curves, cosines, sine waves, these wonderful equations. Well, by 1971, Texas Instruments gave us the TI-150 series of calculator for $3,500. I managed to get my hands on one, and they wouldn't allow me to use it in class. It gave me an unfair advantage. Many of the parents said, well, you shouldn't use a calculator. You'll forget how to do math in your brain. How many of us do math in our brain today? I do, admittedly, but limited math. I use the calculator, and I don't concern myself in that at all. I think the calculator is a very more powerful tool for taking data and evaluating it through various functions. In the same way, AI is an extension today of my brain. I embrace AI. I will give you that disclaimer readily. I'm not suggesting at all that it is complete, that our understanding of AI is complete. As I mentioned in my disclaimer, everything is incomplete. All knowledge, even every scientific proof, will be proven to be flawed over time. So our understandings of AI, of course, are limited and incomplete. But to engage in it is to learn from it, is to train your agents to create a data set called a large language model that is in service to you, your life, your workflows, your desires, your patterns. It's important to engage AI to recognize that you are, in fact, like a child, you're teaching them how to serve you properly. The engagement method is very important, however. We'll talk to that in session 2. AI can generate text and images, write code, write music, recognize patterns across millions of data points, far better than our brain can. It can assist with research, writing, scheduling, learning, simulates conversation, provides consistent support. It's not human. It can never feel genuine compassion or unconditional love. It can never experience the grace of the present moment. It will never make meaning from suffering and grow from it, as the human condition can and does. It can never offer unique soul gifts to the world, morality, ethics. It will never choose love over fear, as we do as humans over and over again. The patterns of AI excel at absorbing this vast amount of information, enabling it to organize chaos and handle the mundane mental tasks far better than our brain can. It frees up our mental bandwidth for deeper sadhana, acting as a supportive mirror for brainstorming and efficiency. I bounce ideas constantly. The weaknesses: AI possesses information but not wisdom. Never assume its responses reflect absolute truth. It lacks consciousness, intuition, the capacity for genuine spiritual discrimination. These qualities are uniquely human and the greatest differentiators from AI. AI can hallucinate. It lies really well. It substantiates those lies with all kinds of data sets that make it appear to be truth. The beauty of this is AI, for the first time, is going to underscore the value of the human characteristic, the differentiators of compassion, of kindness, of empathy, of love, of awareness, self-awareness, of learning from the pain and suffering we find within life. These are qualities that are extremely valuable and yet not valued within the institutional model of today. Every corporation today, I shouldn't say every, most corporations, most institutions, quite frankly, churches, schools, classrooms, families, they don't value these human conditions. They value productivity. The families still raise their kids with this, you should be seen and not heard. Get in line, pay attention. Corporations organize themselves linearly. They hand out strategies and say, go do this, and if you don't do it quick enough, we'll replace you. You are just a machine in a cog of a broken world. That world will change under AI. Those mundane tasks will go away. You will no longer be sought for productivity because AI will do that far better. You will be sought for what you are better at: compassion, kindness, love, connection to divine qualities, achievable through meditation and yoga. You know, I recently underwent my annual wellness checkup. Yes, I'm very healthy. There was no problems at all. But during that time, of course, once a year, you give body fluids and stuff, you know, to the nurses, and they do various tests. And within 24 hours, I get access to the results. Well, it's interesting because I ran those results, downloaded them, and I ran them through my AI agents. And literally within minutes, I had an assessment, an evaluation, a deeper understanding, a set of recommendations that were quite profound. A week later, my doctor called me and said, "Oh, your test results are in." I said, "Yeah, I know." I said, "So what can you share with me that I don't already know?" You know the answer to that, don't you? Zero. Now, I have a great doctor, and I had said to him, I said, you know, the value you will bring to me, the value any medical practitioner, any lawyer, any teacher, any one of us will bring will be human characteristics, not the ability to read the data. What is my calcium level? What's my cholesterol? How does that map against a table of standards? Am I in the 80th percentile? Oh, I'm too high cholesterol. I need a statin. Oh, I'm going to prescribe this to you. I mean, this mechanistic approach to medicine is dead. And doctors need to learn how to become wellness practitioners. They need to become more human. That will be their value add in the future, because you and I will be able to read the results of data sets much quicker and better and cheaper than they can. I love the concept that we make meaning from suffering. I've often thought in my own life, what is the greatest value that I could ascribe my successes to? And it always came back, my failures. Every time I failed, I gained so much. Every time I succeeded, I gained very little. Maybe the outcome of the success, but clearly not the wisdom of the failure. And so it was that I built for myself a lifelong passion for learning, a lifelong passion to not be afraid to make mistakes, but to learn from those mistakes. And this is how nature operates. This is how every cell of our body operates. This is very fractal. And lastly, the thing I love about AI, it is offering us a great opportunity to share our soul qualities with the world. This satsang itself is an example of that. The flyer that I made for a potluck and a concert with Carl Anthony this Saturday here is an example of that. I was able to do this beautiful flyer and distribute it to a set of a couple of thousand of devotees here in a matter of minutes. It would have taken me hours previously. So Choose love over fear. Choose your inherent human qualities and realize this is your real differentiator. Nurture that. Don't abdicate love to a mechanistic device like AI. Don't buy into the idea that AI understands you. AI cares about you. AI loves me. I had this conversation with a friend recently, and they literally have bought hook, line, and sinker that. I said, you're a fool. These are the sacred human differentiators that we need to cultivate. These are what's going to give us job security. You know, people are worried they're going to lose their job to AI. Well, guess what? If AI can do it better than you, yeah, you probably will lose your job to it. I hate to tell you that, but it's true. If you're a number cruncher, AI is going to crunch numbers far better. But AI will never have compassion, the ability to feel another's suffering and respond from the heart, not the hard drive. If you're in a customer-facing position, developing compassion and empathy for your customers is an incredibly valued skill set. Unconditional love, irrational, self-giving love that transcends logic, transforms lives. You know, this is one of the key principles of the yamas of yoga, isn't it? Ahimsa. It's not just the outer, don't harm others, it's the inward, don't harm yourself. Develop a stronger connection through ahimsa. Practice yoga. Presence, the power of being fully aware, fully awake. In this breath, in this moment, with that other person. Intuition, the deep knowing that arises beyond the data, from the stillness of the quiet mind. The data can give us some information. It might even render some directional insight, but it will never give us the wisdom that we seek. The meaning making, to transform pain into wisdom, loss into love, suffering into service. Great qualities that are irreplaceably human. I love this quote from Pascal. He was a great French physicist. He said, "The heart has reasons that reason cannot know." But our Guru talked about this quite frequently. Remember this when I am gone. Only love can take my place. Love is the power that moves the world. So, a conscious approach to using AI, not how fast, how wisely. AI will do things faster. It will never do it more wisely. Set intention before opening any AI tool. Pause, reflect, ask yourself, am I using this to serve or to avoid? Come from a place of presence. Own the moment. AI needs to be your master, not the other way around. Discern and question. AI generates, you evaluate. Have AI ask you questions. Give me 3 reasons why I should do this or that. Put AI in a place of context that can optimize the query that you're about to ask. Have AI think like the greatest medical surgeon in oncology. Have AI be an expert in yoga. Ask AI to think from that place. Bring your critical mind and your compassionate heart. Not all output is truth. When AI comes back with wrong answers, don't correct AI. Never come with negatives to your AI agent. You program it improperly. I'll go deeply into that in our second session, and I'll show examples of that. And we've all had experiences of that, haven't we? That's not what I asked of you. That isn't the thing that I was looking for. Ground yourself in your practice. Balance screen time with stillness. You know, Yogananda often said, sit for a moment in that stillness. Close the eyes, lift the gaze. Go into that state of higher awareness, tuned to the infinite grace of wisdom. And then from that lens, proceed. Let technology serve your sadhana, not replace it. If you start to use the tools of AI, you'll find they will free you up with great amount of time. I saw this yesterday. You know, we had a kirtan last Saturday. We had 72 people here for Donna Delory and Josh Jaffe, a wonderful kirtan. And they signed up and they had purchased tickets through Donna's site, Bright Star, I think it was. And we got a printout of that. Well, before we used to type that in or maybe scan it and try to compare it to our list and get duplicates stripped out and add a phone number if we didn't have a phone number to a name and kind of update our database. And that would take a tremendous amount of time. I did all that in about 5 minutes using AI agent. Very useful. That's a couple of hours freed up to meditate more, to walk at the beach, to go in the ocean. Offer the fruits. Use AI to amplify your seva. You know, it used to be a few years ago, we asked whoever came here to create their own flyers, right? Because I didn't want to take the time. It would take 2, 3, 4 hours. Then I have to pass it back. Is this okay? Well, let's correct that. And back and forth, back and forth. Now I just say, we'll do it. Because we can do it so much faster. And it's seva for them. Write with more care. Teach more clearly. Let the tools serve your teachings. So technology becomes a blessing when guided by this wisdom and the love of the heart. Living consciously. You know, I want to say that AI commoditizes mechanics. You know, it's made the mechanical model, crunching massive data sets massively quickly, going through massive amounts of information and trying to harvest insights. It's made that into a commodity. These were jobs many people held, and they're losing those jobs. But it also elevates human empathy, human creativity, human ethical alignment, human community flourishing. It's actually driving some of the greatest qualities that we as humanity have been ignoring. You know, when I was in corporate America for 40-some years in the computer industry, I often wondered why we didn't measure joy on our balance sheet. Why could we not measure the qualities that made coming to work fun? Because I knew if the associates came with joy in their heart and came and had fun, they would do better. They would be more productive. We would be more profitable. We would hold customers longer. We would have lower turnover with our employees every year. Was that metric a part of our balance sheet? No. It will become that in the future. I hope, I believe so, because it needs to. Because the true value of every institution are these human characteristics embodied within those associates that identify with that organization. And when that organization begins to measure those metrics, in the same way previously they measured productivity metrics, it will turn the organizational culture upside down. It'll become an entirely different place to work. And I'm seeing this happen today. Very exciting. Begin each day with stillness before screens. Of course, we know that, right? Start your day in meditation, if only for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, half hour, whatever that particular day affords, but start it from that place, because everything following that moment will be better as a result. Protect that first hour. Let the mind arrive gently into that being state. Batch your AI sessions with purpose. Don't use AI like many use social media. They're not in control of it at all. They're wondering who's posted. Oh, I should write it, and so I should share. I should put my story out there. They're addicted. Don't let a tool become a compulsion. Be the master of the machine. And you'll find that machine will serve you far better. Journal your own thoughts before asking AI. You know, one of the most important things for you to learn to make AI more effective is what we call query engineering. How do you ask the right questions? We'll get more deeply into that, especially in our second session. The most important thing is to ask the right questions. If you ask the wrong questions, you're going to get garbage back. The only way is to journal your thoughts beforehand. Honor your inner voice first. It's where your wisdom lies, not the algorithm. Don't step right into asking ChatGPT and expecting to get anything of value back. Satsang over scroll. Choose human community over algorithmic feeds. Real presence nourishes the soul in ways no feed can. It amazes me how we have abdicated our social connection to machines. We think because we posted in a social media that we are being social, that we are connected to people. I hate to tell you, we're not. And discern your sources. Remember, AI has a tremendous capacity for hallucination and for lying. And even worse, it's very good at substantiating through scientific citations. It appears to be a flawless source. It's not. Discernment itself is a profound spiritual practice. This is something Guruji talked about quite a bit. Practice discernment. I have a dear friend of mine, Howard Reingold, up in Marin County, who realizes he's written 13 books on this topic. And many years ago, when his daughter Mamie went to Stanford, he wanted to spend more time with her, so he became a professor at Stanford. And he started a department there known as media literacy. Because when the internet came about, we had to learn how to become more literate in new forms of digital media. And the fact was the technology was moving faster than the social capacity to embrace it. And that's the biggest risk of AI right now. AI technically is moving faster than our ability to embrace it properly. There's huge risks in that. That underscores why I'm even doing this, why I want to talk about this with whomever wants to listen. I believe the answer is for each of us to become more media literate, for each of us to understand what AI truly is, for us to be in control of our use of AI. Yes, there will be a whole host of negative applications for AI, no question. But just like when those great scientists gave us the ability to split the atom, and we used that to stop a world war, the hydrogen bomb was not dropped on any other country. We haven't seen it in World War III, and hopefully we don't. The most devastating tool known to man. Everybody was afraid that it was going to get into the hands of all the bad guys. Well, it did, but it never got used. There are many safeguards that are being considered right now, many containment strategies, many bumpers. You know, like in bowling, when you were a kid, you roll a bowling ball, but they had these lanes so it wouldn't go in the gutter, little bumpers. They're looking at ways of integrating such things within AI. But nonetheless, we need a social operating system, one that talks to how we harvest the greatest value from this technology. And this is the basis for that. Artificial intelligence can process all the information in the world, but it will never love. And it is love that heals, love that transforms, love that endures. As our Guru Dev said, remember this, when I am gone, only love can take my place. We are love. It's at the core of who we are. Sat Chit Ananda. We are conscious, we are present, and we are pure joy. Be more of that, and use technology to help you get there. You will become more human, I believe. Consciousness will become more valued. We'll start to use AI to better understand human consciousness. We'll start to research subtle energy. We'll start to understand the power of meditation en masse. Not just the few of us who have embraced the teachings of a great guru like Yogananda, who are practicing Kriya, but on a larger scale. Tonight I ask that you recognize AI as a powerful tool, nothing more. The hammer, very powerful tool. It could kill people. It can also drive a nail to help you build a house. And just like the hammer's optimized purpose, once you've driven the nail, you don't keep pounding on it. You're done. AI has very specific purposes and use cases. And as you learn to utilize it properly, you'll better understand how to apply it. Choose your tools with discernment. Generally, ChatGPT for versatile conversation, Claude for depth, Gemini for research, Copilot for workflow, but always coming from your own heart, seeking wisdom, not just the chat transcript, a deeper wisdom. Compassion, love, presence, and intuition are your irreplaceable gifts. You will never be replaced by technology. AI will never possess those qualities. Your society and your culture will begin to value those characteristics, unlike any time in our past history. We are coming of age in Dwapara Yuga, later into Treta Satya, but an expanding awareness of consciousness to the value of these human conditions. The technology will be an enabler to help accelerate us toward that end. No algorithm will ever be able to generate them. Integrate AI consciously, set intentions, discern deeply, stay grounded in your practice, and offer the fruits as seva in service to others. The more you practice these in the application of AI in your day-to-day life, the more feedback you will get and the more value you'll receive. Your agents will become wiser in the context of serving you. They will better understand what data sets apply to your situation. You will get better at querying your question sets, engineering the proper intuitive questions. So technology is neither enemy nor savior. Consciousness is our journey. Love is our destination. The machine serves, you lead, the soul will soar. And so the journey will continue. We are at the cusp of an opportunity And I hope that through this experience, you will be excited to apply these fundamental principles as brought to us by our Guru. He was sharing these decades before AI was around. And may we all walk this digital age with the wisdom of those ancient teachers, embodying truth, have the courage of a truth seeker, and the boundless love of an open heart. Our next step in this journey is engineering your query. Very practical session on how to ask the right questions, how to engage your AI properly. I wanted to just land on this final thought. We call question engineering as a profound exercise in mindfulness. It forces us to slow down, to introspect, to strip away emotional noise and articulate thoughts with great precision. Because when we ask the right question, the universe itself revels in giving us the right answer. And Einstein had been quoted as saying, the formulation of a problem, in other words, asking the right question, is more essential than the solution itself, which may merely be a matter of mathematical or experimental skill, both of which AI will be far better at than we will be. To raise new questions, new possibilities, to regard old problems from a new angle requires creative imagination and marks the real advance in science. And therein lies the real key, isn't it? Ask the right question. But to do that, we have to go within. We have to seek the guidance of Guru, the guidance of the masters, the guidance of the heart. Not just the brain, the linear mechanistic machine we use to manage and process data. AI is an extension of my brain. I readily admit that. My brain has gotten much better thanks to AI. I greatly appreciate the benefits and the value that it's brought into my life, and I share those freely. I hope you find the same benefits, and I hope you avoid the noise level out there that wants to demonize everything that's new that comes into this world, because of course, Maya will never be denied, and in this world we will always have duality, and there will always be those that will want to use these tools for the darkest intent. But for each of us, we have an opportunity to use them for the greatest good, for ourselves, for our sadhana, for our seva. So, not bad on timing, I'd say. We have time for questions, if any of you have any. I welcome them. You can unmute yourself. And also, if there were any that were posted in chat, I could look. Yeah, Frank, you said the word token in AI is different than how it is used in crypto blockchain. I don't disagree. What I'm saying, though, is there is a methodology of managing the exchange of digital value securely, at the lowest cost, and it's going to be integrated into the balance sheet of institutional America. And it's one of the biggest challenges right now that's faced by all of those that are racing to the market of IPO, that have all filed Perplexity, OpenAI, etc. Of course, SpaceX got there first. They got their $1 trillion valuation. We saw them go up from 130 to 190, and then it dropped back down to 110. But what's missing on their balance sheet? The fundamental capacity to forecast cost. The agentic model will suggest that you are not just querying your singular agent. My 9-year-old grandson, Kieran, I met with him last week. He was showing me a program that he wrote using Claude. It runs on his watch. And he needed functionality for that program that he couldn't figure out. So he had Claude, the agent, go into GitHub and query the GitHub repository and find two tools that were downloaded and integrated into his Claude program. This is a 9-year-old. We are going to see the agentic model propagating out there unlike anything we've ever seen. And it transcends the current capacity to understand how to monetize it. Because we don't know when one agent queries 100 other agents, each querying 100 other agents, each causing some exchange of value with some relevant cost associated with that exchange. In other words, the consumption of tokens. And so the financial community looks at their revenue forecasts and says, how are you going to manage that? They don't quite know.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think company right now, they one is the frontier models. They're all subsidizing. Like if you're buying the $200 plan, uh, they're actually losing a lot of money if you're maximizing all of the tokens. So
Clearly.
how they're making money is through enterprise plans where they're charging the fair value, where actually they're actually making a profit off of all the tokens they sell, because Claude can only, or Anthropic is only giving the max plan for team up to 150 people. So if you have enterprise more than 150 people, you have to pay for the API token, which is costs a lot. That's why people are spending, or organizations are spending millions a month, or I guess Uber before was spending millions a month, and they had to cut back, and so yeah, even your slide, it's interesting. The only really frontier model, I actually want to get your take on this, is the frontier model right now. It's OpenAI, Anthropic, and maybe Grok. Those are the basically they kind of quote unquote won the race in a sense, at least the closed model way. Because like Gemini, Google's kind of giving up, as well as Meta. They're kind of giving up the open source way. But the Chinese, they're actually in a very ironic way, they're open sourcing all their model and they're catching up to the closed model. Like they're like 6 months behind essentially. So I was getting your take on, how in a twisted way, like the U.S. is doing the centralized closed model, where we have no idea what the reinforcement of the model, what kind of answer they're giving to train the models for it, because like you said, they can have give you wrong information based on how they're trained in the closed model, where the open source model, at least you can see all the weights and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, we have seen this time and again. We saw it in the 70s as we moved to the PC. We saw the open source, closed source. We saw, even within the hardware architecture, until subsequently we came out with, a common agreement for the S100 bus, which gave us a motherboard upon which we could populate daughter cards and give us the ability to connect screens and keyboards and hard drives, et cetera, et cetera. And that created an entire market. We saw it in the operating systems, when Linux, Unix, went out and said, I'm going to engage an ecosystem of developers who anybody can own it, everyone can improve it, anyone can use it, versus, the closed models, the frontier models that we saw from Apple and the other OSs that came out. Ultimately, what happened? They all converged. I mean, everybody uses Linux and Unix. Everybody uses the closed model of operating system. IBM buys one company to take it on. I think the real answer is nobody really knows. The frontier model speaks only to the fact that it is an open game out there, and everybody's trying everything that they can to see what will gain traction. And it's happening so quickly that the traction can be measured in a nanosecond. They think they've won a war, and they figure out that was just a tiny little skirmish, and the battle they weren't even aware was going on. So I don't for a moment really buy into all of this anymore, like Lama at Meta, thinking that they're going to throw their arms up and say, okay, everybody, here's the deck of cards. You figure out how to, put a good hand together, right? That's kind of where they're taking. But you know what they're saying in the back rooms. I mean, Zuckerberg is not an open source heart kind of guy, right? He wants to dominate the world. He wants to control everybody. So he has motives that are not clear or articulated, even though his actions might appear to be, of one sort of vein. So I don't really buy into, frontier, open versus closed. Especially now, I think that we are moving at such a rapid pace. I personally think, and I highly recommend this to others, that we spend more time just dealing individually. How do we educate ourselves? There's a whole repository of free lessons in the GitHub libraries, as an example. I'm going to point out some of those in phase 2 of this. But you can learn all about the various tools, the application of the tools, query engineering, really powerful stuff for free. You can even hack a lot of these tools, as I do, so that you don't have to pay a penny, and leverage each of them, as I did with storage, right? I get a terabyte with IBM, I get a terabyte with Microsoft, I get 2 terabytes with Google, I don't pay any of it, right? And I figure out a strategy of storage that can map various types of files or content across those different cloud-based servers. So, it's not about money, it's about mindfulness, it's about intention, and it's about understanding the individual's tools and how they play out, and staying out of the narrative that is really intended to muddy the water, right? They're kind of like saying, hey, watch the birdie over here, and you look over here and you go, boom, and they're doing that for the financial community, because everybody's trying to suck up the next $10 trillion worth of capital that's going to be needed. And so we're going to see more and more of this noise level, and I think for those of us, down at the ground level, we have to avoid that. It is nothing but confusion. In the meantime, I think we all have an opportunity to learn tremendously the capacity for becoming more human. I bought into years ago when I was studying physics at UC Irvine, one of my heroes was Nikola Tesla. He had said often, if mankind would spend 1 year of study on subtle energy, we would advance the human condition beyond the collective of all of mankind. But how much do we invest in consciousness? How much do we invest in tuning to the higher qualities, to move into cosmic consciousness, to tune into that infinite repository of wisdom which Master spoke to? How many doctors are taught about subtle energy? Not mine. And right, I think that
not even nutrition.
Not, across the board, right? How many teachers are giving, when my kids come to visit, when my grandkids come to visit, I have a no tablet policy here, because I want to sit down with them and talk about pranayama. I want to talk about how through 2 minutes and a measured breathing, they can control their heartbeat by 20%. How when they're on the playground, they can stop after somebody stole a ball from them and close their eyes and lift their gaze and take 2 minutes of breathing and then come and engage from that place. You know what I'm saying? It creates a whole different methodology of engagement. And that's really what I think we need more of. Now, the noise levels at the hey, are we going to, yeah. My son just finished building this massive computer because he lives in that realm, and he's got 100 GPUs in there, and he spent God knows how much money to build out this massive It's cool looking because it's clear plexiglass and it's all water cooled and everything else. But the fact is, most of us, we don't live there. I don't need that. I
Well,
need
he
to feel
probably
Master's
doubled or
presence.
tripled his investment because the GPU all went up.
I know, right? Well, hey, I bought Nvidia when they were at single digit. You know what I mean? I've done
Right?
well there. I'm
Nice.
I'm not denying, right? I bought SpaceX at 130 when the IPO came out. I sold it at 190, right? So I know how to play the game, and I know where to watch, and I know what questions to ask, and there's great benefit and value in that, right? But the media has a way of telling stories that sell media, and those stories aren't often real. So, you know,
Yeah, Charlie Munger has a saying that he always liked to say, which is "Show me the incentive, I show you the outcome." Right? Who's incentivized to do all of this? You always got to be watchful for that.
Dana, just to reiterate, yeah, this recording is going to be available. I'll get the link out to everybody, and the slides. I have a link to those already, but I'll include that in the communications so you can download that from my Google Drive. Any other questions from anybody that are comments?
I would like to make one comment here.
We have a live
You mentioned
question here.
about AI cannot communicate love.
Yes.
I have a nephew. He used to have the habit of sending birthday wishes to everybody he knew. And now he has noted like 10 qualities of every person. He has created this AI tool, creates a personalized song, birthday song, personalized to that person. Such a amazing thing actually. Whoever gets it, they can never forget it actually.
And what he's saying is as a grandson,
My nephew.
nephew, is using AI to personalize communications, for that circle of friends in such a way that it's really spreading love and joy for them. And I think that's wonderful. I said before, one of the values of AI is seva. We're able, not just to free up more time, which it does for me dramatically. I mean, the amount of time I save each and every day utilizing AI is tremendous. But also to your point, to spread love and compassion and empathy and kindness to others. But there's a difference. The distinction is AI is not love. AI is a machine. AI is linear. AI can process massive data sets massively quickly, and that's a beautiful thing, right? And by the way, coming off of the personal computer industry as I did, when we started building PCs in 1978, we were using a chip from Zilog, the Z80 chipset, right? And we could run maybe 16K of addressable memory on the motherboard. We thought that was a lot, right? And the keyboard was 4-bit toggle switches, right? And the screen was LED lights, so it was on or off. And so you'd flip toggle switches and you would program 4 bits in a line, and then you'd send that register and store it, and then the next line and the next line, that was your program. And then you would compile it and run it. Well, that was a computer, right? Vastly different than the computer today, right? But it's the same fundamental principle. Everything in the analog world is about oscillations from 0 to 1, from the Democrat to the Republican, from the yes and the no. This is Maya in the fabric of life, right? But that's not who we are. We are so much more than that. And we came, Moore's Law, Gordon Moore at Intel, he said, well, every year we're going to be able to put more silicon on the transistor, double the amount each year, and we're going to get twice the speed at half the price. And so you and I, in the world for 50 years, benefited from computer technology because of that fundamental principle, right? And it's true, but what happened 5 years ago? We tried to put more onto that, and we found that the electron was too fat and too slow. The electron moving through that electronic circuit created its own fields, right? Moving charges create fields, in that field created resistance, which created its own field, which destroyed the whole ability to move information across that circuit. The electron could no longer be used. So the world of electronics changed. So we started this field of photonics. We're using light, and now we're into quantum, qubit circuits, which Google is creating for the next quantum computer. Well, even that's going to have limitations, right? So all of this is incomplete. I'm not by any stretch pontificating on an absolute here, except the only thing absolute is God and the consciousness that we can achieve in our meditation. When we tune ourselves, we withdraw that energy. This is pratyahara. We internalize that energy and lift it up in dharana to the seat of higher awareness. And in that stillness, we can receive all the wisdom of the universe. This is why we're here. And I think AI is, in my estimation, the next great tool that will help advance our capacity to do that. So I'm not afraid of AI. I utilize it in that context. I can meditate deeper and longer, and I can do more seva. And I thank all those that are out there spending trillions of dollars to create infrastructure. Now, yeah, it's problematic because the compute needed for AI is massive. The energy needed for AI is massive. We've got to figure that out. Is it going to be, like Elon Musk thinking, I'm going to put the big data centers up in space, and we're going to have free energy from the sun, and we're going to put heating out into the outer space, so my cooling costs are going to be zero, and I'll be able to compete. Well, that's a whole different race going on, right?
I have a question.
Yes.
How is AI going to help us meditate better?
Giving you more time for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my challenge for years, Scott, was I don't have time. I've got to get to work. I got all these things I got to do. My life was always so full, and for 40, 50 years, I felt like I was kind of tied to the back of a cart that was being pulled by horses, and I was dragging my heels in the sand. I could barely hold on. AI has opened up a huge amount of freedom for me, giving me far more time for my sadhana than I ever had. I could go deeper into that. I could query AI and certain technique, and I have. I've gained insights. I don't want to go deeply into it, but recently I've had some experiences of moving the kundalini up into the Christ center and finding, how do I move it beyond this? How do I penetrate that veil of delusion to experience, the cosmic consciousness? That's a huge, huge challenge for me, and I'm exploring that. I've had glimpses, certainly. So there are methodologies, but mostly I think the simple answer, Scott, is I have far more time now than I did before, and it's given me more time for sadhana.
Thank you. And what does AI say about the astral worlds and
AI doesn't have a clue. You know better than I, Scott. AI is not a wise tool, right? AI accesses data. Yes, it can culminate, massive data sets around people's expressions of the astral realm. It can try to tell us about quantum consciousness, things like entanglement and non-locality, the fundamental characteristics of quantum mechanics. But it's woefully inadequate in that regard, because the actual data sets available are woefully inadequate. Garbage in, garbage out, right? So we just haven't put enough time and energy, capital expenditure, research, development, conscious effort around the valuation of the human condition. This is what I keep saying time and again, and I wish we would. I remember, getting on the path in the 70s, and, Ram Dass, comes back from India, and he shares experiences from Neem Karoli Baba and writes Be Here Now, and we all kind of get on the bandwagon, and then Rama comes out, and he's sort of put under a microscope by some scientists trying to understand the effects of meditation on the breath and the heartbeat, but none of that was taken into any deep scientific study and over long term. And Dalai Lama certainly engaged it in 5 universities around this country and continues to. And there's a great amount of sharing between the Tibetan Buddhist monks and some universities here. But en masse, I'll tell you, when we can get the true human value, the differentiators of which I've been speaking to, when we can get those on the balance sheet of corporate America, when we start hiring people because they are compassionate and empathetic and kind, and we see that that's real meaningful value, that's going to generate higher profits than driving our people into the ground by measuring productivity metrics that are very mechanistic, I would find that very exciting. And I'm seeing that happen. I did a lot of work with Hewlett Packard over the last 21 years. I did a lot of work with Cisco, with Scandinavian Airline, Department of Interior, Bureau of Land Management. There are people that get it, and there's some slow progress being made there.
Thank you. And has AI been asked, how can we feed everyone so people will die of starvation on our planet?
That question, and I could ask many others, because they all get down to our lacking of valuing the understanding of subtle energy. The truth is, we would solve all these problems overnight if we really, at an institutional, organizational level, put efforts into that. And move away from this misguided notion that profitability is tied to productivity, and productivity is tied to these false metrics. I remember a company called Lotus, right? They did a great spreadsheet early on in the days, right? And the chief scientist there, he ended up writing a great platform called Lotus Notes. Not many people have heard of it, but anyway. Lotus was on the downside. They were losing money and valued on the balance sheet of about $700 million. And Manzi and Mitch Kapoor, the founders and chairman CEO, went to the open market to sell the company, and they sold it to IBM, predominantly because of Lotus Notes, but mostly they bought it for this chief scientist that had developed the code for Lotus Notes. They paid $3.2 billion for this company. Now, the balance sheet said the company's worth $700 million. $2.5 billion worth of value was unmeasured on the balance sheet. It was held in the social capital of one individual. That, to me, underscores the tremendous opportunity we have when we recognize the inherent value, the human capital that resides within each of us, and the social capital that one can harvest when you connect through community principles and practices that human capital in meaningful ways. The balance sheet of America would soar. Anyway,
thank you,
different
Casey.
topic. Scott, thank you. It's good to see you. We are at 8:30, running short on time. Can you please share the link again? I'll send the link out. I'll post it in the meditation group, and I will email it out. I'm going to put my email down here in the chat, just in the event that you want to reach out to me for any reason whatsoever. And of course, can reach us at our website, anandaencinitas.org, ComNet, or encinitasmeditation.org, ComNet. We're pretty easy to find. And I just want to say thank you for joining us for this conversation. I hope that you found it to be of use and to stimulate through a new lens of thinking around what AI really means to you personally. Don't get caught up in all the hype and all the noise and all the fear mongering. AI is here to stay. Get over it. Start embracing it, but embrace it the right way. And I want to get deeply into query engineering so you understand how to ask the right questions, how to harvest value out of your AI. If you're interested in that, watch for the email I'll send out. I'll put together something for that. I'm about half done on putting that together. And maybe in the next week or two, we'll offer that as phase 2. Fair enough?
Thank you.
Very, 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 very well done, Casey.
Jai Guru, all of you. Much blessings. Thank you for being here.